In tonight's news edition, His Majesty receives the Comprehensive Human Rights Plan, which he calls key to enhancing the national reform process. The United Nations envoy for Syria says the cessation of hostilities in the country is open-ended and announces that peace talks will run to March 24th. And France seeks Arab support to revive Palestinian-Israeli peace talks. Good evening and welcome to the news at 10. His Majesty the King pledged that human rights protection in the country will get a further boost and called for concerted governmental and other efforts to achieve that goal. Speaking as he received the 2016-2025 Comprehensive Human Rights Plan from Prime Minister Abdullah Mansour, King Abdullah reaffirmed the need to implement the plan and its recommendations in a partnership with concerned entities within the set timeline. The plan, the King stressed, is key to enhancing the comprehensive reform process and build on what has been achieved to empower citizens and protect their rights and freedoms. Justice Minister Bassam Talhouni, who is also head of the higher committee that drafted the plan, said it focuses on civil, political, economic and cultural rights, as well as the rights of the most vulnerable segment of society, the elderly, children and women. The minister said the plan, which will be implemented over a period of 10 years, will be reviewed periodically by the committee. The Public Security Department announced First Lieutenant Samer Abu Zaid died of critical injuries he sustained during a shootout with a dangerous fugitive about 3 months ago. The officer's body was laid to rest in a funeral today. The Public Security Department extended its condolences to the family of its brave officer who fell in the line of duty.
طيب احنا السحاب على قاعدين يكفوا بالشهيد الله يرحمه.
Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Nasser Judeh discussed strategic cooperation with the Gulf Cooperation Council countries in the 5th joint ministerial meeting in Riyadh. Judeh said Jordan appreciated the grant that was approved by GCC leaders to finance economic and development projects in the kingdom. Judeh said the Palestinian cause will remain the central issue in the region, stressing the importance of arriving at a just and comprehensive solution to the conflict. He said it is our legal, religious and humanitarian duty to counter terrorism that distorts the image of Islam. The minister also said a political solution should be found in Syria that meets the aspirations of the Syrian people and preserves the country's unity and sovereignty. Jordan, he said, supports Iraq in its effort to stabilize the country and liberate its cities from Daesh. He also said Jordan backs efforts to restore peace and stability in Yemen and Libya. Judeh was also in Cairo, where he attended the Arab Ministerial Committee meeting on ending the Israeli occupation of Palestinian lands. France's foreign minister sought support from Arab states to relaunch talks between Palestinians and Israelis by the summer. Paris has begun lobbying countries to commit to a conference before May that would give guarantees for Israelis and Palestinians to get them back to the negotiating table.
We greatly value this French initiative, and we see in it what will accomplish the legitimate ambitions and rights of the Palestinian people. It will also help in solving the conflict and crisis on the basis of the two-state solution. This will need the unity and solidarity of the international community. It will call for the close coordination between the Palestinian and Israeli parties and also the active international parties until we can support the two sides on taking the crucial and important procedures to end this conflict.
Israeli troops shot and killed 3 Palestinians in a fresh surge of violence. 2 Palestinians who Israel allegedly opened fire and wounded a Jewish settler in occupied East Jerusalem, and a Palestinian who the military said tried to stab soldiers in the occupied West Bank were killed by Israeli forces. The killings followed a day of violence in which Israelis killed 4 Palestinians in East Jerusalem. An American also died, and about a dozen Israelis were injured in a stabbing rampage near Tel Aviv. The upsurge in attacks came as U.S. Vice President Joe Biden held talks with Israeli and Palestinian leaders as part of a tour in the region. Since October, Israeli forces have killed more than 180 Palestinians, 28 Israelis and 2 U.S. citizens also died in Palestinian stabbings, shootings, and car ramming attacks. UN envoy for Syria, Staffan de Mistura, said the cessation of hostilities in the country is open-ended, brushing off a perception that the truce needs renewing this weekend. De Mistura told reporters in Geneva he planned to launch substantive peace talks, stressing that the round of talks would not run beyond March 24th. The UN envoy said he would now press on with more peace talks, though neither the Syrian government nor the opposition High Negotiations Committee have confirmed they will attend.
When we start having the talks on Monday, God willing, the focus will be on substance, on the agendas. In other words, on new governance, constitution and elections, the future elections in 18 months' time, both presidential and parliamentarian. The issue about ceasefire and the humanitarian, in theory, and we hope in practice, should not be addressed by the talks, because we do have the 2 task forces who are going to be simultaneously addressing those.
Critical.
Jean Egland, special advisor to the UN Special Envoy for Syria, said that the UN is working to overcome obstacles and reach remaining besieged areas after delivering aid to 10 of 18 besieged areas across Syria in the last 4 weeks.
Have been or will be able to reach a clear majority of besieged areas, and we believe a clear majority of people in besieged areas soon. The bad news is that we still have not reached 6 important besieged areas, including Daraya and Douma.
Her Majesty Queen Rania Al Abdullah visited the Princess Taghreed School for Girls in Amman, where the Jordan Education Initiative pop-up classroom pilot project is being implemented. The Queen started her tour of the school with its principal, Taghreed Shawabke, and the Jordan Education Initiative CEO, Narimin Nabulsi, by visiting an outdoor computerized English lesson on marine life. There she chatted with students about the learning outcomes of the pop-up classroom. The Queen also dropped by a mathematics lesson that uses GeoGebra software, which helps students understand and visualize abstract concepts. Her next stop was at a science class where students worked on software to develop animations about the life cycle of plants. The Queen's tour included a dialogue through sports and arts, facilitated by 2 teachers under the Generation of Peace initiative. Finally, the Queen met with the school student parliament committee, where students shared their leadership experience in parliament and the activities they organize under the Students' Council. U.S. aircraft began targeting Daesh chemical weapon sites near Mosul in Iraq. The initial round of airstrikes aims at diminishing the militant group's ability to use mustard agents. Media sources said it was unclear if the strikes conducted over the last several days were successful. The sources said a Daesh detainee provided vital information that allowed the U.S. military to conduct the strikes. Saudi Foreign Minister Adel Al-Jubeir said his country is committed to a political solution to the war in Yemen under UN-backed peace efforts. Jubeir also said he sees a call by a Houthi official for Iran to stay out of Yemen. Turning to Syria's war, Jubeir reiterated at a news conference in Riyadh that President Bashar al-Assad could choose to leave power either through a political process or the Syrian people will continue to fight until they oust him militarily. On the Yemeni conflict, Arab coalition forces said they exchanged an officer detained by Yemeni militia for 7 Yemenis it held in areas near the Saudi-Yemeni border. Media sources said the Saudi-led coalition welcomed a calm to heavy clashes on the border, which it could lead to a political solution. Tunisian troops killed 10 militants around Ben Gardain in an operation to clear the town of the Libyan border after at least 55 people died in a Daesh terror attack on Monday. One soldier was also killed during military raids around the town. The Defense and Interior Ministries said 2 militants were tracked to a construction site before they were also killed. Tunisia's government said around 50 militants launched a dawn attack on army and police posts in one of their largest assaults on Tunisia. The army killed 36 attackers, 12 troops, and 7 civilians also died. Migrants staged a protest in the camp on the Greece-Macedonia border after Macedonian authorities announced the border was closed. Many migrants said they would stay put as they did not know where else they should go, while others were determined to stay in hope that something would change and the border would reopen. A police official said Macedonia closed its border completely to illegal immigrants after Slovenia, Croatia, and Serbia announced tight new restrictions on migrant entry. Thousands of migrants have built up on the Greek side of the Macedonia border. Macedonia had been allowing small numbers of Syrians and Iraqis, but it now stopped doing so after its neighbors tightened up their policies.
Go to Germany or Sweden or Holland, no problem. We won't open the border.
I feel sick of this, so tired and bored of this. Just waiting for nothing. I wait and wait and wait, and then there is nothing. I know that there is nothing at the end, but I'm waiting.
Donald Trump brushed off a week of blistering attacks from the Republican Party's establishment, expanding his lead in the White House nominating race. The billionaire frontrunner racked up primary wins in the big prize of Michigan, as well as Mississippi and Hawaii. His convincing win in Michigan restored his momentum and increased the pressure on the party's anti-Trump forces to find a way to stop his march to the nomination ahead of several key contests next week. The 69-year-old New Yorker built his victories in Michigan in the heart of the industrial Midwest and Mississippi in the Deep South, with broad appeal across many demographics. In the Democratic contest, Bernie Sanders stunned frontrunner Hillary Clinton in a narrow Michigan primary upset, giving his upstart campaign new energy. Clinton won in Mississippi, but Sanders' victory is seen as likely to ensure a prolonged fight to pick a candidate for November's general election. As a solar eclipse arched across the skies of Indonesia, tens of thousands of people across the country gazed upwards, hoping for a glimpse of the rare natural phenomena. As the moon started to pass between the Earth and the Sun, the skies took an unusual twilight tone and the first crescent became visible. Here's more.
It is morning in Asia, and crowds have gathered to catch a glimpse of a rare astronomical phenomenon, a solar eclipse. A small band of Indonesia saw the eclipse in totality, though cloudy skies and smog made the sight a little less than perfect. A partial eclipse dazzled millions in other parts of the region. A solar eclipse happens when the moon casts a shadow on the Earth as it passes between the Earth and the Sun. A partial eclipse is when the Earth passes within the moon's penumbra, or shadow. This is not just textbook science, this university teacher in Singapore says. It is seeing science face to face. Students across the region came out to watch the spectacle. Japanese students even sailed off the coast of Palau to see it. NASA says the world's next total solar eclipse will occur in August 2017 and will be visible in the United States.
The former head of the World Anti-Doping Agency WADA, Dick Pound, said ex-world #1 Maria Sharapova has only herself to blame for testing positive for a banned substance at the Australian Open. The Russian stunned the sporting world on Monday when she said she had failed a test for meldonium, a drug available in Eastern Europe to treat some heart conditions, but which has been proven to enhance aerobic endurance. Pound, the chair of the WADA Independent Commission, had no sympathy for the 28-year-old five-time Grand Slam champion. A 4-year ban is a possibility, although it is thought unlikely in Sharapova's case.
That's it. And we're back to left. Back to left, please.
American swimmer Michael Phelps, the most decorated Olympian of all time, said he hopes this year's Rio Olympics can help heal a sports world hit by recent doping and corruption cases. Phelps, who is hoping to add to his mind-boggling collection of 18 Olympic gold medals at the August 5th to 21st Rio Games, feels the world's biggest multi-sports event has the potential to help people move on from the recent spat of negative headlines. Phelps has committed himself to one last run at Olympic glory after having announced his retirement at the 2012 London Olympics.
I swear I have no regrets, for the past is behind. Tomorrow reminds me just where.
And finally, it will continue to be cool tonight with a slight chance for scattered showers. Tomorrow, a drop in temperatures expected, but temperatures will remain around seasonal average. Winds will be northwesterly moderate to brisk, turning dusty in most parts of the kingdom. The Gulf of Aqaba should expect a warm day tomorrow with northerly moderate winds and calm seas. Next are the lows and highs for tonight and tomorrow. To end the news, here's a reminder of our top stories. His Majesty receives the comprehensive human rights plan, which he calls key to enhancing the national reform process. The United Nations envoy for Syria says the cessation of hostilities in the country is open-ended and announces that peace talks will run to March 24th. And France seeks Arab support to revive Palestinian-Israeli peace talks. With that, we come to the end of tonight's news. I'm Nancy Khair. Thank you for watching and have a good night.